Good morning, everyone. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe, guys. Most of the United States is experiencing some pretty harsh weather conditions, so I'm going to make a video that is a little bit different. I'm not going to mention any specific stock, but I feel this video is actually more important for anybody watching because if you're new to finance, budgeting, investing, this is a image that I found that is pretty helpful with explaining and breaking down in simple terms what your priority should be if you're new to this, right? If you're not and you have plans and you're good on all that, then maybe the other videos are more for you with the stocks, but this is more for anybody who's new to investing. Okay, so I love how this image gives you the priority: high, medium, and low. So starting off with high priority, right? Starting an emergency fund. Okay, now that doesn't, first the first question is well, what does that mean? So basically, having enough cash. All right, having enough cash on hand to cover expenses from anywhere, minimum maybe 3 months to max, or maybe 12 months before you start really putting into other things. So that's a pretty daunting and significant task for most Americans, having 3 to 12 months of expenses accumulated. But that's the highest priority, is having cash. Okay, I know that people say, well, I can grow it in a VOO, and you can, but cash is liquidity, it's accessible. So that's going to be a difference, right? So maybe we put like a dollar sign right there, right? Because that needs to be cash. Okay. An emergency fund needs to be cash. It makes sense. You don't want to trade a stock in order to get that cash back. You want access, whether it's in a savings or something like that, right? The next one on the list is get an employer match. All right, I heard that if you don't have an employer match, you're essentially giving your employer some of your salary. So, speaking from somebody who feels this really hard, I would get an employee match as fast as you can and negotiate if you can, right? I think a good percentage would be 5 or 6, and anything you can do. That's probably the max though, for a young person or any person really. Sorry. So yeah. And then high interest debt is next. All right. And sorry, this is also known as a 401k. So I'll write that down. So 401k. Okay. So that's a 401k, your employer match. All right. I highly suggest it and get as much of a percentage match as you can. So going next is high interest debt. All right. So credit cards, student loans, right? Stuff like that, car payments, right? So you want to get rid of that as soon as possible, right? Especially if it's on credit cards or just really any credit. All right. You want to eliminate that. For most people, it's going to be some sort of loan, and you really want to get rid of that, right? Because also the market had or the interest rates were raised for a while, so there might have been some greater interest loans that you really need to knock out. So another priority. I'm not really honestly going to touch on a health savings account too much because I don't want to give any information that I don't know, because I really don't know too much about it, so I'm going to skip that. A retirement account. Now I know this kind of goes in hand with the employer match, right? So the 401k can be matched by your employer, but I want to highlight specifically the IRA, the Roth, because you can open one of those on your own, right? And it helps so much with the tax, right? But again, look at the priority. It's just medium, right? You got to make sure everything above is prioritized, right? In terms of this image. Medium interest debt, right? So starting to hit maybe a student loan that wasn't as high, or just, starting to cut out, again, as you go down the priority, starting to cut out as much debt as you can, guys. Get that to zero, really. And then, you actually, your mortgage is actually very low priority, right? Because, unless you have a horrible interest rate and very little left maybe on your principal, then maybe it could be a high priority. But most mortgages, I would say, as you can see, are low priority. You need a place to live, so and you're gaining value on your equity most times. So taxable investments, of course, you can always do that on your own. But if you kind of think about this chart, I make so many videos about investing, but investment isn't actually down till a little bit further the list. So just want to get it out there that first and foremost, having an emergency fund anywhere from 3 to 12 months on hand is extremely important. And then if you can get an employer match with your 401k, or even just starting a Roth on your own, but get that emergency fund, start eliminating debt, and then get those investments going. You can really do all of them simultaneously, to be honest with you. But, if you kind of want to just do something really, really prioritize something, you can always rearrange as needed. So life always throws curveballs too. So you just kind of have to pivot and adjust. So let me know what you guys think, if you need any more videos like this or if you enjoy them. And yeah, stay safe out there, guys.